Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here, along with Pete.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hope you guys enjoyed your LeBron Thanksgiving dinner, full of LeBron, full of Porzingis, full of Giannis, whatever you ate at the table.
That sounds a little suspect.
Does it really?
The way it was said.
Hope you enjoyed your full of.
It's okay. Let's keep moving. I was trying to bring it back, all right? I had a lot of suspect moments in that Thanksgiving video, all right?
Anyway, guys, let's just get right into it.
James. LeBron James all the way in.
And here comes Simmons the other way. 3-on-2. Simmons eludes the defender and lays it in with that.
Certainly the length altered that shot out of between the steps. Crutches.
Play right there.
Porzingis from Jennings. Throw down and a foul.
Irving. Oh, splits the defense with the dribble. Oh, got him.
All right,
What are we talking about first, Bernie?
let's talk about the thing that's kind of concerning a lot of people, and he's a former MVP of the NBA, and that is Derrick Rose.
Okay.
So as you know, Derrick Rose now has taken time off from the Cavaliers to kind of deal with some demons in his head after he had another nagging injury that happened to him, and he's just contemplating whether or not to just retire from the NBA altogether. Because he's tired of just doing the recovery process over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about it, and do you think he should quit? Because there's some incentives to him to stay, because if he stays, he'll get that $70 to $80 million contract from Adidas still.
And he has a chance of getting a championship this year, too. I think he should try and finish this year out, personally. I mean, if he's as injured, he always is so injured, like, make your money and then save it up this year and then retire. You know, This is his best chance of winning a championship he's ever going to get. Too.
Yeah.
So why not take it, finish out the season? They don't really need you to play that much, honestly, once Isaiah Thomas gets back anyway. Plus, you always have LeBron as the point guard in the backup rotation, too. So they don't really need him to be healthy, to be totally honest.
It just kind of sucks because, I mean, throughout his career, he's been injury prone ever since that. I think it was that Philadelphia game, actually, where he had that first injury.
Yeah.
And it was a torn ACL, I believe, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
he just hasn't been able to.
It just hasn't been the same since. I just think as soon as he lost his knees,
yeah,
or anything below, it's just everything has just gone wrong for him, and it just kind of sucks because he's probably one of those guys that we could talk about, like a Grant Hill, maybe a Greg Oden to an extent.
Yeah,
just those guys that are so talented and athletic, but once they get injured, it's just a completely different story with them. It's like they go from like a superstar all-star rating, to coming down to like an NBA backup to like starter on a bad team.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, Derrick Rose, I like his stats those first few years are just insanity. You know, when he was with Ben Gordon, and then the years after Ben Gordon left, he was crazy. I don't know, man. Like, he had a pretty good run, and honestly, considering how injury prone he is, he's actually lasted in the NBA longer than I thought he was going to. So, fair on him, but try and get your championship and then go. That would be my thing. Because, I mean, he had a couple of years where the Bulls were decent enough. They had a chance. They were contending. But this is by far his best chance as an NBA player to win the championship.
Yeah, I just think the thing that kind of sucks about Derrick Rose himself is that he didn't develop a jump shot in his game, which is something that if you get injured, you don't have the same speed or quickness anymore to get to the rim like you used to. You have to change something in your game, and I don't feel like Derrick Rose ever did that.
Yeah.
Ever since the couple knee injuries, I would think that maybe someone in his posse or someone at the Bulls facility would have been like, hey, you're a little bit injury prone now. Let's try and develop a jump shot now for you, so that way you can be at least more effective in different ways than not. But Derrick Rose will play the same way that he's always played: high speed, high intensity, going to the basket. At times it'll cost him.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sucks because he's a very, I don't know. He's like one of those players that, like, if it could have been like a what if with him.
Yeah.
what if he would have stayed healthy? Would he have been able to capture a championship?
On his own, maybe.
On his own, or even just like joining a different team. Like, so let's say he's still on that caliber of like, when did he win it? 2010? Is that when he won it?
I think so. Let me check.
The MVP? You know, if he could have stayed in that, like, whenever he got drafted, I think it was like 2008, I believe, to where he was then, I think there could have been potentially a possibility of him going to like another team maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe bringing people in, because I know at the time LeBron, D Wade were contemplating going to Chicago as their destination of choice.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sucks for Derrick Rose, but you guys, it's just reality sometimes with these NBA players.
This says he did win 2010-2011 season. Well, this I think, and this isn't necessarily where we were going to go, but I think it's a good jumping into another topic, right? Because Derrick Rose, like you said, is a big what-if scenario.
Yeah.
'Cause after that MVP season in his second year, right? Is he still the youngest MVP ever? I think he is.
Who, Derrick Rose?
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe he's still the youngest MVP.
It leads you to question whether he could have been in the caliber of, greatest ever, right? Which is kind of a weird discussion to have, seeing as you only had like 4 or 5 really good years from him, if that, maybe like 3 really good years from him. But he does jump into that class of like players who could have been all-time greats that never were, right? Which was something I was thinking about with Joel Embiid, right? Because there's a lot of worries about Joel Embiid's health. Obviously, I think a lot of people are concerned, seeing as the first 2 years of his career he hasn't been able to play. But we're seeing him solidly, he's getting his minutes right now. He's making it over 30 most of the games he's playing in, staying healthy right now. But I wanted to discuss, like, God forbid any career-ending injury for Joel Embiid. Would he be the number one, like, greatest that never was in the NBA, in the history of the NBA?
Oh, that's tough. I mean,
because, like, with him, this is what I would say, where I want to defend that he possibly could be. Like, you have a guy like Greg Oden, right, who had so much potential, and we never even got to see a part of it, right? Joel Embiid, we've seen the flashes, right? And the consistency of greatness when he is on the court it's there. Whereas some of these other players, and Joel Embiid is putting in the work too. But some of these other people, like Greg Oden, we never got to see the flashes of greatness before his injuries racked up and took him out of the game. Derrick Rose, he had his 3 years, but he did come back, and he's still, like, he could have worked on his jump shot. So it kind of takes him out of the conversation for me too, you know?
I feel you.
Joel Embiid, though, I feel like he's putting in that work.
Yeah. I just think if we talk about the greatest that, bar injury happening, like, is it the greatest kind of tragedy that ever happened in terms of being able to come back from such injuries? I mean, it's up there for sure if Joel Embiid does get injured. But I think another guy, like, when I think of that kind of scenario, I think of a guy like Len Bias, if you remember.
Yeah.
The dude that was supposed to be drafted by the Celtics. Second overall pick, and then all of a sudden dies. He was supposed to be the next big thing, according to, Celtics legend Red Auerbach.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the next dude. I think Joel Embiid, if he does get injured to a point where it's like he can't play anymore, I think it would be up there with him. Obviously Len Bias is a little bit more serious in terms of, a death happened. But, all these guys are super talented. I mean, even like a guy like Sam Bowie, that was drafted ahead of Michael Jordan, was supposed to be really good. But, injuries happened to him. Death happened to Len Bias. And I pray to God this doesn't happen to Joel Embiid, because I don't want to see more tragedies like this. Because especially with guys that are able to play.
Yeah.
I want to see them play at their fullest potential.
Yeah.
And get an opportunity to do that instead of injuries happen so it limits them or hurts them to even compete.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm just looking up some other examples. Jesus, I'm clicking on every single ad.
That's the clickbait ads,
Up rocks. awful website. Let me just go all the way.
But I'm trying to think like what else could be like another deterring factor for this. I mean, we got guys like Kwame Brown.
But he had.
I mean, he played. I'm not saying that, but like
Yeah.
kind of guys like. I mean, at least you got them to play.
Yeah.
So I think like kind of like that stuff, like Kwame Brown, Anthony Bennett, even like those guys are just busts.
What about Bill Walton? He had to stop playing when he was like 27, and he was injured all the time. He was great when he played too.
He was great when he played. It's just one of those things. Like I hope that doesn't happen to Joel Embiid
Yeah.
because I feel like he could be really good, and better than Bill Walton because Joel Embiid's more athletic and is able to shoot the three better by far. But
Tracy McGrady.
injuries happen. It just sucks because I know the taller guys, the centers back in the day, it's like really hard on your feet and your knees to be that tall.
Yeah.
That once you get older, it's just like the pain just worsens for them.
Yeah. Oh, another good example. This is another player I just want to mention. Amari Stoudemire got hurt a lot. He had some incredible years early on in his career, like the late 2000s.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, Amari Stoudemire was one of those dudes that, especially when he was with the Phoenix Suns in that early 24 second or less, or was it 10 seconds or less shot clock? Mm-hmm. Shooting up shots. That Amari Stoudemire with Steve Nash, Leandro Barbosa, Raja Bell.
Ooh, it was a good team.
That was such a good team, and I'm very disappointed that they didn't win a championship. Mm-hmm. But he was like one of my favorite players to watch just because of how athletic he was and was able to shoot the ball. He could have been probably a Hall of Fame-like player if he was able to stay healthy throughout his career.
Yeah, definitely. Only other person I want to shout out, I like this guy a lot, Brandon Roy. Had some good years before he started to get injured.
Yeah, it just is unfortunate.
His career was real short. It was like 6 years or 7 years.
Yeah, just
sucked.
He lost all the ACLs in his joint.
Because imagine if like the Portland Trailblazers had like an aged veteran Brandon Roy to go alongside C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard when they were young players. Because he still could be in the league for sure if he was. He would only be in the league for 10 years. That's pretty crazy. That team would look pretty different now. All right, let's move on. I just wanted to have that little hypothetical. Tell us what you guys think about Joel Embiid. Is he the greatest? If he got injured now, we don't want that to happen, but if he did, do you think he would go down as the greatest that never was? All right? I just thought it was a little interesting topic.